Morning and welcome all of you on behalf of this institution and the 125 years celebration that we have started, and it's almost coming to an end now. And it's a privilege to just to stand here, and this is a time of reflection. We wanted the 125 years to be a time where we can look past, honor our past, and also look into the future and see what we gain from the past and can take into the future. We honestly believe that we are in the crossroads now, and we would, although we are setting up new standards, going up in starting quaternary care and traveling further and further into primary and secondary care as well, multiple campuses, and we have so many doctors, so many nurses. We are bigger and bigger family now. We want to, as an institution, recognize where we came from. We want to constantly remind us of the past and the shoulders of the people whom we actually stand from, and all the knowledge that and things that we have gained from the past. And we take these heritage lectures very seriously, and various departments have come, and it's a time of coming together and reflecting on our past, and actually reminding the next generation how we came from and what we did in the past, and how we were able to manage with so much of so little and so less, and still we were able to do so much of wonderful work. I think this heritage lecture is something which we not only honor the people or the doctors and a legacy, but also it's a time for all the next generation of students to actually learn about our values, our core values, and our mission statement, and keep on we keep sticking to that and not move anyway, even not even a degree from what we um, all stand for together. As a director said last week, I think we were the best multi-specialty hospital in the country, in the private sector, and next only to the All India Institute of Medical Science in the overall categories. Uh, the one thing that everybody recognized is what CMC stands for and the core values that we stand for. And the reason why we all are so acknowledged all over the country or all over the world is because we stand on the shoulders of the people who started this institution, and we never forget our legacy and the roots. And this heritage lectures are something that is we really value, and especially for the next generation and the present generation, to hear from our seniors as to what they did with so much less, and what they achieved with so much less. And the hand of God has been there with all of us, and we continue to pray for that. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. We welcome you to this particular heritage lecture highlighting psychiatry. And a special word of welcome to those who are watching online, particularly our alumni. We stand here looking back, praising God, and seeing how things have gone on over the last almost 70 years. Psychiatry, or the formal treatment in psychiatry in a way, began somewhere in the early 50s when Dr. Florence Nichols came and started off. She was given a small outpatient unit, not a unit, a room somewhere near the current director's office. And I believe she then moved on to where the Betatron is now located. But anyway, she then went back, trained, and came back, and mental health center came into being. Over the last many weeks, we've been listening to various departments growing, what shall I say, improving and reaching the levels that they are here, particularly stimulating us and showing us the hand of God in all this. And to carry on that tradition, we have a few luminaries today. Dr. K.S. Jacob, who was professor and head and retired, now looking after some aspects in Chittur. We then have Dr. Simpson, who was a special educator who retired from Nambikkai Nilayam. Priya Mammen, professor and head of child psychiatry, and no longer head. Okay. And finally, Dr. Rajesh, who is now the current head of the department. So to continue to scintillate you and to continue to fan the embers which have gone on, I ask the four of them to come one after the other in the order they have chosen. I'm not sure that was the order that was planned. So, Dr. K.S. Jacob, mic is yours.
Thank you. Can I have my slides, please? As we look back over the 125 years of the institution, today we look at how psychiatry was born and grew in this place. I've titled this as Rewriting Recovery When Families Become Partners, because Mental Health Center has actually provided a legacy for all of us to pioneer family participation in psychiatric treatment. This is not usually found in most psychiatric departments in India or around the world. So the founder of Mental Health Center was Dr. Florence Nichols. She came here in 1945 and worked till 50, went back to Canada for some specialist training and came back in 55. So she was a Canadian psychiatrist and also a missionary. She spent her first year, 1945, living in a local village to learn Tamil. She then set up outpatient services as part of the neurology department. She returned to Canada for some specialist training in order to start the Department of Psychiatry at Vellore. She completed her Royal College certification and also the American boards. She set up the department in the college campus. She also sponsored Dr. Rose Chaco to train in psychiatry in Canada, and she established the Mental Health Center. Now, the construction of the Mental Health Center started in 1956. It started with 18 family rooms, 8 private and 10 general. It was funded by the Nuffield Foundation in the United Kingdom and the Norman Trust in Australia. It was opened in 1957. So here's a picture of the then Vice President, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, at the opening of the Mental Health Center in 1957. Here's a picture of the first ward in psychiatry in Mental Health Center. And I can assure you that after all these years, it looks exactly the same. We do have some new buildings, but this one has been well preserved. This is a picture of the opening of the center, the office and OPD block. As you can notice, there's only one floor. The second floor was added later. In 1962, 10 additional beds, general ward rooms were added. In 1963, the children's ward. Now, what's so special about Mental Health Center? This family participation in treatment, care, and recovery is a very unique concept. At that time, in 1950s, there was limited family involvement in the treatment in other hospitals across the Western world and in India. Most of the family participation involved some interviewing or a short stay for a few family members. So most institutions at that time were custodial care. And so Mental Health Center came up with this new strategy. There was actually a staffing shortage and resource problems at that time. So Florence Nichols came up with the idea of admitting families in cottages so that the families could look after their relatives while they recovered in the mental hospital. So this was a revolutionary idea, is still practiced. There are lots of publications from our department on the advantages of having families stay with patients during their hospitalization. The families understand mental illness better, they become co-therapists, they are empowered on drug management and also on the psychological management of these people. Here's a picture of Dr. Rose Chacko, who was the first Indian psychiatrist to join the center. She was a child psychiatrist. Dr. Kohlmeier, a German psychiatrist, spent some time at MHC from 1959 to 1961. A picture of Dr. Abraham Verghese on rounds in the wards in MHC. Staff in the 1960s. I can recognize Dr. A.V., Dr. Anama Abraham in this picture. So okay. So Dr. A.V. and Dr. Anama Abraham. Okay. Here's a picture from the 1980s with Dr. K. Kurvilla and Unit 1. Shucks. So Dr. K. Kurvilla. Sister Rosemary Roxon, Alice Cherian, Prasanna Jebraj, Kadir Kaman, Sadanand Unni, and Dr. Shahji. So Dr. Rose Chacko was the first Indian psychiatrist. She trained in Canada. As a child psychiatrist, she served MHC from 56 to 1981. And she was primarily involved in establishing Nambikkai Nilayam, the Center for Children with Intellectual Disability. She got funding from the Christopher Blendon Mission for this. And the center continued involvement of families in training them to manage children with intellectual disability. This picture was taken when she came for our Golden Jubilee to inaugurate the extension of child psychiatry services at Mental Health Center. Dr. Abraham Verghese did his diploma in psychological medicine from NIMHANS in the late 59-60s. He did his MD from University of Melbourne. He served the department from 62 to 1988. His research focus was on epidemiology and on schizophrenia. I think he did the first epidemiological survey of Vellore Town, which is one of the first studies in India documenting mental illness across urban settings. He was also the editor of the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. Dr. K. Kurvilla did his MD from NIMHANS and then went to the United States to train with Aaron Beck, who is the father of cognitive behavior therapy. He also worked with Joseph Volpe in Philadelphia. His focus was on behavior therapy and cognitive behavior therapy. Dr. Kurvilla was the editor of the Indian Journal of Psychiatry and also the president of the Indian Psychiatric Society. Now, the context. Psychiatric services began 45 years after the institution was founded. What makes mental health center special even today is that when the rest of India and the world were offering custodial care for people with mental illness, and these are long-term, long-stay facilities, mental health center decided to have a short-stay facilities involving patients and their families. It is probably the only psychiatric hospital, even now, to admit patients along with their families so that they can be involved in the care of people with mental illness. Now, another landmark decision was that CMC located the mental health center and the psychiatric wards in the residential campus of this institution. And that was a real remarkable first, because usually people with mental illness are isolated and shunned, and to locate the campus on the locate the center on the residential campus was a huge leap forwards. In addition, the residential campus also had New Life Center, which had people with leprosy being rehabilitated. So this was actually, it showed that the people who founded this institution had a vision much bigger than what was usually seen in those times. Dr. Florence Nichols was always interested in psychological intervention. She studied Tamil to come up with psychological interventions for the local population. There is evidence to suggest that she was keeping abreast with all the latest advances in psychological intervention in the West. And she set the tone so that psychotherapy and counseling became integral part of treatment at MHC. Dr. Jacob K. John trained at AIMS for his MD and then in the United Kingdom. He served Mental Health Center from 1979 to 2010. He established the psychosocial unit for HIV and AIDS in 1988. The AIDS epidemic had just started, and psychosocial intervention, at that time, there was no treatment or cure for AIDS. And so psychosocial intervention was a major step forward. Dr. Alice Cherian trained in psychiatry in Vellore and then trained in child psychiatry in Melbourne. She served the institution from 1987 to 2005, and in 1998 started the child and adolescent psychiatric unit at Mental Health Center. Dr. Pratap Tharen trained at Vellore and in the United Kingdom. He served from 1987 to 2017. And Pratap, during his tenure as Vice Principal Research, really changed protocols and procedures for the IRB and raised research standards. He also set up the South Asian Cochrane Center and Network in 2005. And this center has been training people across India in systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And Pratap continues to be involved with this center and is training people not only in CMC, but across India. Dr. Anna Tharian trained at Vellore and in the UK. He served Mental Health Center from 1919 to 2017. Her focus was on counseling. She established links with Udvam Ulangal, the charitable organization in Vellore, which looks after homeless people with mental illness. And she, with these links, now Mental Health Center has a lot of community outreach works, and she started these links with Udvam Ulangal. I trained at Vellore in MHC, and I also studied anthropology and epidemiology in London. My work has been looking at culture and primary care. I was always fascinated by the fact that the Indian culture and many other cultures around the world have a lot of supernatural beliefs, especially related to mental illness. So we did look at the role of black magic and supernatural belief. Followed up, we have done many studies across diagnostic categories, followed up people over time to show that actually this is a coping strategy which actually helps a lot of people. Although Western medicine would say that, and we believe that it is a problem in the brain, uh, the dopamine hypothesis and other such central nervous system hypotheses have not really been acceptable to people with mental illness, as the fault is theirs for having a abnormality. So many people would cope with coming up with external influences for their mental illness, and that's how black magic helps them cope and other supernatural beliefs. People with mild illnesses who do well with drugs are easily able to accept uh, the medical etiology for mental illness, but those with persistent uh, hallucinations and delusions, despite treatment, find it very difficult. And then they use a variety of supernatural explanations for their. My work in the community also showed that suicide in India is more related to psychosocial distress than mental illness, than biological illness. We had Prasanna Jabraj and Dr. Suja Kurian, who spent their lifetimes in mental health center. Prasanna, from 1997 to 2012, she trained in Australia. Suja, from 2000 to 2024, she also trained in the UK. Both of them focused on patient care during their time at MHC. Now, after Florence Nichols, Dr. Annama Abraham and Mr. Subramaniam, both of them continued the tradition of psychological intervention. Dr. Annama Abraham was a clinical psychologist, and Mr. Subramaniam was a social worker, and both of them spent a lot of time in psychotherapy. Mr. Santosh Clement was a social worker who joined the department from 91 to 2001, and he was helping with training counselors for HIV and AIDS. The nursing service has a long history. Mr. K.V. Matthew trained at the Maudsley Hospital in London and came back to establish nursing services in mental health center. He's here in this picture. Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth Thomas is standing next to him, as is Rosemary Roxon, who are senior nurses and who set the standards for nursing care. Mrs. Kadaksham and Miss Rani were also senior nurses who retired from mental health center. More recently, Dr. Manoranjitam and Dr. Helen Charles served mental health center from the 1990s to the 2025s. Both of them obtained their PhDs in psychiatric nursing, and they have raised the academic standards in psychiatric nursing. Now, occupational therapy there was a brief period where Eileen Joyce in the early 60s helped set up the occupational therapy department, but it was actually Monica Hopkins who provided sustained inputs for occupational therapy to develop at mental health center. The bachelor's of occupational therapy was started in '69, and more recently, the department has a master's in occupational therapy. Pharmacy services I think Mrs. Vasantha Barnabas was the first, if I remember correctly, was the first pharmacist, joined by Mr. Ravi and Stalin and others. The pharmacy from a small room when I joined in 84 has become a big place now with many, many pharmacists helping in the dispensing of medication. Now, a word about the housekeeping staff. When I joined Mental Health Center in 1984, one thing I quickly learned was actually it was the housekeeping staff who managed the violent patients at Mental Health Center. Despite the fact that doctors provided the medication orders, it was these staff who knew verbal interventions to de-escalate violence in people with mental illness. And I was really fascinated by many of the senior housekeeping staff, in particular, Mr. Balakrishnan, who I decided was my guru in managing people with violence and mental illness. And he taught me a lot about verbal de-escalation and how to restrain patients in a humane way. Many of you are probably not aware of the period where medical records was all manual and not electronic, and we had this crowded room with all the patient records, files, and charts. Mr. Balakrishnan had a phenomenal memory. You just had to tell him, Balakrishnan in the patient chart, and he would bring the chart. He remembered the numbers. And I thought, what a phenomenal memory, which none of us who were working as doctors at that time had. So the housekeeping staff in mental health center have a special place in treatment of people with mental illness for de-escalating strategies and helping restrain patients. In fact, I often say that they know the dosage of the parenterals to be given, and as soon as the patient arrives disturbed, they are able to assess the gender, the age, the body build, the extent of disturbance to suggest the dosing of parenteral, haloperidol, and phenergan to the nursing staff and to the doctors. The clinical services started in 57 with 18 beds. In 1982, expanded by 1982, we came to 87, and now we are at 122 beds. We currently see about 450 to 500 patients a day. We have 3 adult and 1 child and adolescent psychiatry unit. Since Dr. Simpson and Priya are going to speak on child and adolescent psychiatry unit, I'm only focusing on the adult side. So the teaching program the formal teaching program for mental health center started in 1974 with the recognition for the diploma in psychological medicine by the University of Madras. In 1977 for the doctorate in medicine. The DNB came in 1984. The diploma in psychiatric nursing in 1991. The MSc in nursing in 1995. The PhD Doctor of Philosophy program in 2000. And the Masters in Occupational Therapy more recently in 2023. This Mental Health Center has contributed its fair share to research, and it has numerous papers on diverse aspects of mental illness. It has received funding from a variety of funding organizations, the WHO, the Wellcome Trust, NACO, Ford Foundation, US AIDS, Gates Foundation, Cochrane Collaboration, Indian Council of Medical Research, and the Department of Biotechnology. The department provides liaison services to the main hospital, the Ranipet campus, and now to the Chittoor campus. It also provides services to LCECU, Chad Hospital, Rehab, and RUSA. It has a long list of community outreach work, starting with Uduvamulangal in Tirupattur and Vellore, and a list of community organizations looking after people with mental illness, many of them homeless. There are missionaries of charity and other Catholic homes and many other organizations. We also provide community outreach for Chad and the Javadi program. So as I said, the first ward as it was then and as it is now, obviously with the change of climate in Vellore, with more rain and more recycled water, it's much more green. But I can assure you that the ward is still the same. Here's a picture of the then and now for the private ward. So mental health center would not have been built. The buildings and the funding came from a variety of sources: the Nuffield Foundation, the Norman Trust, West German donors, Ram Narayan Goenka, who gave 10 general ward rooms, the Christopher Blended Mission, Germany, which provided funding for Nambikkai Nilayam and its buildings. The Pollock Trust more recently has supported occupational therapy. So these are some of the references from which I have obtained details. I would like to thank Mr. Suresh, the coordinator at MHC, for collecting this information and for providing photographs.
Morning to all of you. So I take this opportunity as a privilege to talk about Nambikkai Nilayam, how it was started. And there's a long history behind Nambikkai Nilayam, but I won't be covering everything. Some of the important things I will be talking about. When we look back about the facilities available in India during the period 1940 to 1975 in relation to intellectual disabilities, those days it was not intellectual disability, it was mental retardation. And later the terminology was changed to intellectual disability. Now it is intellectual and developmental disabilities, not only intellectual disability, other forms of developmental disabilities are also included. So if we look at the facilities available in India, in olden days, these children were clubbed together in mental asylums, thinking that it's a form of mental illness. Later in India, around 1940s, on Mrs. Jaya Wahil, she started facilities for children with intellectual disabilities. That is around 1944, she started. And the next one was started at Chennai by Balavihar, Guild of Service Central, in the year 1953. And in the meantime, the Federation for the Welfare of the Mentally Retarded also was started in Delhi by one Mrs. T.A. Pai, wife of then Industries and Commerce Minister, and which was followed by the teacher training program started by Balavihar in Chennai. And in later years, particularly, the government also showed a lot of interest in giving facilities for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So they started in the year 1984 at Secunderabad, NIMH, National Institute for Mentally Handicapped. Now it is called as NIEPD. And later, Government of India started the Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI, to regulate all these facilities in our country. So till 1975, the number of institutions present in our country to take care of children with IDD was very scarce. So during this time, the Department of Psychiatry was started. We have already seen about this, and we heard about Dr. Rose Chacko also. And the family care model was started by Psychiatry Department. So our backbone is Psychiatry Department. Anyway, so Dr. Rose Chacko, being a child psychiatrist, she was getting lot of children referred to her who were having intellectual disability, not exactly mental illness, but intellectual disabilities. So she didn't know what to do with these children that time. So what she did was she went to Australia and learned about intellectual disabilities, came back, and she submitted a project to Christopher Blendon Mission. And they sanctioned actually quite a large amount to start the Nambikkai Nilayam. Nambikkai Nilayam means, the meaning is center of hope. It was given by Christopher Blendon Mission. So they didn't know Tamil. They asked us to translate it to the local language, and that's how Nambikkai Nilayam came. And Dr. Carmen also was one of the reasons. Bob Carmen was one of the reasons to help to start Nambikkai Nilayam, because the funding and other things, he was very supportive and taking care of it. When it was started in the year 1978, August 1st, we had a difficult time because parents didn't like to come. I still remember the first child who came, the mother was sitting and yawning from morning till evening. And by the end of the day, she told me, sorry, I cannot come. So I found out her husband's number from the chart and rang up to him, telling that she's not interested in coming. It will take time for the child to improve. So with her husband's insistence, she came with a child. And by another 2-3 months, few more children joined. And after that, you won't believe, she refused to stop even after 1 year. The program was mainly meant for 6 months, and finally they were forced to stop. So the first year we had only 7 children, and 4 were daycare and 3 were residential care. And we have 20 low-cost private rooms and 4 private rooms. And private rooms were literally lying vacant, and there were no takers during the first year. Second year, one Arabian child occupied, and later on, one by one, children started coming, and within 2-3 years, we had huge waiting list. Right. So the first year, actually, it was very interesting. We started with the dedication service, 1978, August 1st, and the inauguration was not yet over. After 1 year, because the CBM, Christopher Blendon Mission, they wanted to come for the inauguration. So they came after 1 year, and we had the celebration. They went around and we exhibited the craft works and other products which children made, and they went through and they couldn't believe that. So some of the donors, they said, this cannot be made by children with intellectual disabilities. Finally, we were forced to show it using the children. Fortunately, some of the children were there. So those children made those products, the weaving handbags, then doormat making, like that. Some of the products they showed. After that only they believed. Even then they wanted to see the IQ report and all. So after that believed, and they said this program can be not for 5 years, it can be an ongoing program. So they started supporting us continuously for a longer period. And initially, Nambikkai Nilayam was independently functioning, but after Dr. Roschako left in the year 1981, Dr. Sali Date came as the HOD. This is the Nambikkai Nilayam building. Initially, the yellow color paint. That time it was started, and the main aim of this Nambikkai Nilayam training was to train the parents of the children, to train their children, to make them independent in their life. So the first multidisciplinary team, these are the people. 9 of us joined on the first day, and it was continuing like that under the leadership of Dr. Roschako. So after Dr. Roschako left in 1981, Dr. Sali Date took over. She's on the extreme right. So as a HOD, and some of the staff are with her. And she is now with one of the children with Down syndrome. And in this picture again, Dr. Sali Date, we can see her. One of the morning prayers. She used to participate in all the morning prayer sessions. And Dr. Salidate was working as the head of the department from 1981 to 1989. After she left, again Dr. K. Krula took over, and Nambikkai Nilayam came straight under psychiatry department after that. Now, he actually, during his contact with the Nambikkai Nilayam department, Nambikkai Nilayam unit, he was very particular about getting the staff all the benefits. So he showed a lot of interest in staff welfare. After Dr. KK retired, Dr. Alice Cherian took over, and she was there for some time. And during this time, she started sending psychiatrists. Soon after they finished their courses, after the MD, they were asked to come and help Nambikkai Nilayam for some time. And in the meantime, Dr. Russell was sponsored for MD. So during that period, Dr. Syriac took over. You can see Dr. Syriac in this picture from 92 to 94. And this is one of the Christmas programs he's participated. We can see Dr. Syriac and also the other staff in this picture. And after Dr. Syriac, Dr. Russell came back from completing his course. He started introducing a lot of things, many things. Particularly, he has streamlined Nambikkai Nilayam procedures as well as the treatment programs, everything organized methodologically. Particularly, he introduced the holistic care. He brought in the holistic, not only the education. Till he joined, the education part of these children were taken care of, but he was the person who introduced the 5-axial diagnosis as well as the treatment program based on the 5 axes. Proper diagnostic workup also was done. The history collection data, sheets, everything we have rearranged, organized. And he had brought in the behavioral. It was there, but the full behavioral intervention procedure he only brought in. And research also he only taught to many of us. Then the training of all the medical and paramedical workers were also included during his period. This is the multidisciplinary team the earlier time. And this program actually was unique in its nature, like the multimodal team approach. And in India, I hope we are the only people having the multimodal team approach. Other places, they will be having one model or 2 models, not more than that. But we synchronize all this together to bring in changes, full changes in the children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. These are some of the types of services provided in Nambikkai Nilayam, starting with diagnostic service, then counseling service, training of parents. Training of parents, actually, I would say we were the first in India to start. And I still remember this Christopher Blendon Mission people, they send the BBC team to see what we are doing here. So they came and observed everything, and one middle of the night, they broadcasted that this Nambikkai Nilayam model can be copied all over the world. Hearing that, a lot of people from the developed countries started coming in. So the special education program, these are roughly the areas where we were training. And some of the trainings now I think we are not able to follow due to various constraints, like shopping skills. We used to take them to the college store and teach them. Then road safety, the South Police Station, they used to help us to, the children to cross the road safety skills. Then farming skills, visiting the harbor once in a year, harbor and other places, beach, where they were taken. Then climbing College Hill, at least monthly once they were doing. Then they were taken to the public utility utilities like the post office and the railway station also they were taken once. The restaurants also they were taken and taught. Now they were given water play that is being temporarily stopped. That's what I heard because of the season. And sand play also they were having. And group and individual teaching were also there. And we found the group teaching was more effective than the individual teaching. This was the timetable when we started in 1978. It was written on the blackboard, and we had 2 classes that time, the senior class and junior class. This is the senior class timetable, which is not very clear. Like, yeah, these are the activities performed by children that time. This is the music class. Again, music class for children, the afternoons. And the World Day for the Disabled every year will be celebrated in the Vellore, that police stadium. And our children used to participate and won prizes also. This is the trip to Amardi Forest. Then this is the public service I was talking about. The post office, they were taken to the post office and help how to buy items from the post office and how to post. So all those things will be taught. This is water play by children. Again, beach, Marina Beach, they were taken. The parents will be in charge of all these programs most of the time. This is part of the self-help. This was in initial days, eating, teaching children how to eat without spilling, and the self-care training was given. This is the mother's participation during various activities, cooking for school day, and the fancy dress competition they used to have. This is outdoor play, tug of war, and this is again the sack race. And the children on the victory stand after winning games. This is the gardening. Now we don't have this gardening. At the backyard, they cultivated this groundnut and other vegetables. And this is the speech therapy session by one Miss Amanda, speech therapist from Birmingham. And this is the school day, annual day. Again, the staff cooked for the staff, parents, and the Christmas celebrations by the children. These are the activities for parents. The group interaction, they used to exchange their feelings and problems, and it was indirect way of counseling them. This helped quite a lot. And Fridays, those days, we used to have topics for parents. One of the staff will go and teach them. The parents also had different activities like this. So they are on the victory stand. They are making laddu for one of the functions. And this is the kolatam by parents. They used to ventilate their feelings and problems through this sort of activity. So family care is really very, very useful. Then staff enrichment also. Nambikkai Nilayam had a series of seminars, journal clubs, then paper presentations, then attending refresher courses. I hope this is still continuing. Dr. Priya might be able to tell us about the current trend. And the uniqueness of Nambikkai Nilayam is diagnostic workup on 5-axis basis, and will be documented very well. Periodical evaluation also will be done to check the effectiveness of the program. Inclusion of parents is unique. First training center for the parents in the country, and parents sessions are unique in its nature, and parents interactive sessions and parents play sessions, as well as preparation of teaching aids. National Institute for Mentally Handicapped at Secunderabad, they visited us, and they also constructed buildings like what we are having, the family setup. But it was a failure for them. I don't know why it was a failure. They closed down that. Then our extension services like Hill Nursery School, we send some of the children came to us as an inclusive education program. That didn't work out well because parents of other children didn't like children with intellectual disabilities mixing with those children. Then parents self-help group, 2 centers were started, one at Velapadi and the other one at Old Town. So both the centers were running very effectively, but after some point of time, because parents were not joining, the latest parents were not joining, it is both the centers are closed down. But they did quite a lot of things. The center at Kosapet, more than 5-6 children, they are actually vocationally rehabilitated. I met last week one of the students. He is getting 250 rupees per day as salary. He is working in one of the vegetable shops. So this mother and her son, they only started the parents self-help group in Kosapet. That was the first center. So Dr. KK came and inaugurated it. These are all the activities going on in that center. The fathers also involved too much in this group. So they actually copied Nambikkai Nilayam procedures and mothers and continued it quite for some time. Till last, just before 5 years, if I remember correctly, they were continuing. Now those children were rehabilitated. No more children coming there now. This is the first annual day. This is their program. Then other services, free bus pass. Actually, children who were coming by the public buses, they were struggling too much. Conductors and drivers were not allowing these children to enter in. So we wrote several letters to the collector, but it was not working out. Finally, the parents themselves, we sent the parents to go and meet the collector, and we were the first to help these children to get free bus pass in Tamil Nadu. Then later on, other districts also started coming in. Disability certificate also in the same way. Then railway pass, CMC was allowed to issue railway concessions also. 1/4 charge they have to pay. Then in mental health itself, parents were finding it very difficult to stand in the queue and pay the fees. So on our request, MHE was kind enough to provide a priority counter for these children and their parents. Then we had a lot of awareness programs also, started with the bus crews. So all the conductors and drivers, along with the transport department, one evening we arranged a meeting about talking to them about intellectual and developmental disabilities, after which the conductors and drivers were not rude to the children with the disabilities. They were so kind enough to allow them to enter into their bus. Then similarly, school teachers, including Skada School, we went and educated the teachers. They were able to identify children with different forms of disabilities. Then through the DED, or District Disability Rehabilitation Officer, we went to the health camp and other camps and do the assessments, and the children were able to get disability certificate through this program. The challenges we faced were the staff turnover. Actually, it was very high. Now I'm not sure. And that may be one of the reasons, maybe because of the high burnout rate. As we know, any disability area, the burnout rate will be very high. Then it will be, it was less rewarding also for the staff. Moreover, we didn't have enough trained, fully qualified staff those days. So we took untrained staff and trained ourselves in our center. Then another problem is quite a lot of money is involved. It has to be run on charity. So the lesson learned, family-based care will be more effective than any other type of intervention. And parents are the best teachers. These are some of the lessons we learned. And finally, why I choose this topic, hopelessness to hope. Nambikkai Nilayam means center of hope. Once when I asked one of the mothers from West Bengal, how do you feel now at the time of discharge? She said, I came without hope and leaving with hope. Nambikkai Indi Vanden, she spoke in Tamil also. She asked another Tamil mother how to say this in Tamil. நம்பிக்கை இன்றி வந்தேன், நம்பிக்கையோடு செல்கிறேன். Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson, for taking us through Nambikkai Nilayam. So my role here is to just add the child and adolescent psychiatric services, the non-entity related services which developed over the years. So I'll just give a brief overview of this. Like, as most departments have been talking about CMC's mission in both education, service, and research. So I'll be talking about this short talk on CAP services with this particular overview. So coming back to Dr. Rose Charco, I think most of us who have spoken today have mentioned Dr. Rose Charco. So what happened prior to 1997? So as both Dr. KS and Dr. Simpson mentioned, Dr. Rose Charco was probably the only psychiatrist at the time who had been trained in child psychiatry. So she had received her psychiatric training in Canada, then further went to the US and got her certification in child psychiatry and came back. And she established Nambikkai Nilayam in 1978, but she was the head of Psychiatry Unit 1 from 1970. So I think, what happened to children who didn't have intellectual disability before CAP unit actually started? So I think the Adult Psychiatry Unit 1 at the time was seeing both adults and children who were referred with psychiatric difficulties. And at the time, there was no separate unit for child and adolescent psychiatry, though Dr. Abraham Verghese in his article specifically mentioned that there were repeated attempts, to start the unit at the time, but it happened much later. So this is just a snapshot of a slide which has already been shown. So while Nambikkai Nilayam services had been going on from 1978, it faced a bit of crisis in the 1980s when Dr. Rose Charco had left, Dr. Sally Date also left. And at the time, it was looked after because it was still running on the CBM project, which had extended from the initial 5 years. And it was then looked after by the HOD of psychiatry and many changing medical officers. So there was some element of stability which then came in after Dr. Russell joined initially as medical officer, then finished as MD, and then joined in 1994 as senior lecturer and was in charge of the Nambikkai Nilayam at the time. So children without intellectual disability were at the time managed by the psychiatry units, the other psychiatry units. I'm assuming this is Psychiatry Unit 1. I can see Dr. KK there in the middle and Dr. Alice on the extreme left. And Mrs. Anama Abraham was also trained in Australia in child psychology. So she was also seeing a lot of children at the time for child psychology related assessments. So in 1990, actually Dr. Alice Cherin had actually done her DCH before she joined. Sorry, excuse my throat. She had completed her DCH much earlier, taken a break, and then came back and did her MD psychiatry. So after she joined the psychiatry unit, she was encouraged at the time by Dr. KK to actually go and pursue child and adolescent psychiatry. So from 1990 to 92, she went for a 2-year training in Australia and came back in 1992, back to the adult services, but she continued to see a lot of children with child psychiatric issues. So in 1997, actually, this was the annual report which said the first year of completion of child psychiatry was 97 to 98. So in 1997, initial services were actually established as a unit. So the faculty at the time were very small. We had the MDT team in Nambikkai Nilayam, and we had only one medical faculty was permanent. Dr. Russell was doing part-time from Nambikkai Nilayam at the initial start, and one clinical psychologist, one occupation therapist, and a single DPM PG in rotation. So that was the initial team. So the services initially started with daily outpatient services, and in 98, there were 6 IP beds established, but slowly services extended to the main hospital, the town campus, and Dr. Alice had introduced child psychiatric assessments and family therapy into the academic and clinical care. And there was a gradual integration of NN into the functioning, as at the time, Christopher Blinden Mission had slowly begun to pull out of the funding, and it became a self-financing unit. So Nambikkai Nilayam gradually started getting integrated. So this is a picture of Dr. Alice as she was, I think, during the Jubilee celebrations. She retired in 2005. And those of us, I had the privilege of working with Dr. Alice for 3 years before she left and she retired. And it was a pleasure to work with her. She was extremely kind and gentle. Those of us who remember the sessions in child psychiatry will remember the family therapy sessions we used to have in Dr. Alice's room. And most children would warm up to her immediately when they saw her. She was very warm, and they always remember her for her infectious laugh. So since then, the torch has passed on Dr. Paul Russell, me, and then currently our head is Dr. Satyaraj. So coming to Dr. Russell, he was our HOU from 2005 to 2019. He had already started, because he was the MOU medical officer initially in 91 in Nambikkai Nilayam, but he took over as a senior lecturer and got in charge of Nambikkai Nilayam in 1994 after finishing his MD. And after he joined, Nambikkai Nilayam got fully incorporated into the child psychiatry unit. And as Dr. Simpson mentioned, at this time, there were a lot of patients. There were a lot of patients who had come with, we were getting a lot more patients. There were a lot more patients with comorbid illnesses. So we had a lot of medical and psychiatric comorbidities coming in. So there was this need and a shift to a multi-axial and a multidisciplinary framework of management with a lot of evidence-based protocols. And most of us who know Dr. Russell know he's an excellent teacher and researcher. And there was a lot of emphasis then on education and research. So this was the shift in services. As Dr. Simpson mentioned, we had long stay patients staying from 6 months to longer than a year. And it was shifted to a 3-month parent-mediated intervention, both daycare and IP. And we had daily assessments for intellectual disability. Considering the need for children with disability, there was also the PMR clinic, which was started in MHC. And in view of the increasing number of children with autism clinic was also started. And the classrooms, we used to call them junior class and senior class, they shifted into therapy rooms with 4 therapy rooms we currently have for infant stimulation, autism, early intervention, and advanced intervention. And as I mentioned, use of a lot of developmentally validated curriculum for training and the integrated MDT rounds and case conference. So this was the overall services. So at the start, Nambikkai Nilayam started with 24 beds, which has still continued. The non-NDD services started with 6 beds to currently 12 beds, which is continuing, and a lot of emergency services also. The OP services have extended now into MHC and like from MHC to Town Campus to the Ranipet extension. And we had to shift from a daily OP functioning to a 3-day OP functioning later because the numbers had increased and also to focus on rounds and teaching. So this is the timeline of services. As you can see, psychiatric services, emerging child psychiatric services in the early 1970s. The established unit in 1997 and 98. Nambikkai Nilayam much earlier in 78. And currently we have these additional services, the autism clinic, infant mental health services, doing remote consultation for mission networks. And currently this year in 2025, integrated pediatric child psychiatrics, child license services have started. In addition to clinical work, there's a lot of collaborative work going on with government, NGOs, schools, and other departments. This is a slide to show you a snapshot of some of the things. A lot of unit teams have been involved in, some where individuals have been members. Dr. Russell has been on the ministries for both Government of India, state ministries focusing on disability and mental health. Dr. Satya has taken on the initiative for child-related sexual abuse work and is involved with Tamil Nadu government for POXO-related cases. We do JJB evaluations on a regular basis. And of course, work with NGOs, schools, the mission networks, initiative taken by Dr. Shweta, and a lot of consultation liaison work with our allied pediatric departments. So coming to education, I think as everybody mentioned, we have the nurses, the OTs, psychiatric trainees. It's all are posted in rotations in the unit. But I think 2 of the major courses is our PDF in child adolescent psychiatry, which started in 2011. And we also had the postgraduate diploma course in mental retardation, which ran for 2 years from 98 to 99, but had to close due to problems with RCI regulation. So coming to our postdoctoral fellowship course, we started in 2011 with a lot of support from Dr. Jacob John at the time, who had helped us with curriculum development and formulating the whole plan. It was a 2-year course. It's a 2-year course run by CMC Vellore with 4 months of peripherals and 4 months of neurodevelopmental disability. And these are our postdoctoral fellows who've passed through the course through the years. Just mentioning them because all of them have pursued their interest in child adolescent psychiatry. 80% of them are in India. They are continuing to do good work in the areas they've gone. And yes, one of them, Dr. Rachna, has joined our unit. So, sorry. Apart from, of course, coming to faculty development, most of our faculty have availed opportunities for the junior training fellowship, senior training fellowship, the study leave and sabbatical leave. And this has actually enriched the unit's growth in terms of development in specific areas. So in terms of SLD, eating disorders, trauma, child, infant mental health. And there are, as Dr. Simpson mentioned, he's completed his PhD while he was doing his as a special educator in Nambikkai Nilayam. So both the medical and allied specialities have all utilized and developed and the training programs in the unit. There's a lot of research been done in the unit. These are some of the key areas which have been highlighted. I think Dr. Russell has spearheaded our research program in the unit. And a lot of is just a snapshot of some of the major articles which have been done. So both published journals, currently we have around 175 from the unit, and with editorship for particular like well-known books like Illingworth's Development of the Infant and Child. Dr. Russell has been an editor with Dr. MKC. So these are some of the awards and recognition I wanted to specifically mention. Dr. Simpson, who you all have just heard from, he was awarded the Tamil Nadu State Award in 1988 for the Best Special Educator. So it's a real achievement at the time. Dr. Russell has recently, in 2021, received the DSc from Kerala University for his outstanding work in child psychiatry research. And these are some of the other awards that I'm mentioning here. Especially like to mention that a lot of our allied health faculty have also got research awards. And Dr. Rachna, our youngest consultant right now, has already got an Infosys award for a research grant. The unit has also been involved in conducting many workshops, CMEs and CREs. This is just a snapshot of some of the areas which have been covered for trainees, students, pediatricians, parents, the mission hospital networks, and teachers. And some of the areas being SLD, child mental illness, neurodiversity, and behavioral interventions. And again, awareness programs. This was our awareness program for autism, done one for children with disability awareness, and again the run for autism. Coming to infrastructure, this is a picture of the new extension block for Nambikkai Nilayam being inaugurated in 2007. You can see Dr. Rose Chako, Dr. Pratap Tarian, who was head of department at the time. Dr. George Chandy was director. And Dr. Rose Chako had generously contributed for the extension of the new outpatient services. So she had inaugurated the services at the time. This is... Okay. This is a very short video just to show you a tour of the area. So as you can see, we had two therapy rooms at the time, the junior class, senior class. They were very dark and dingy. And with the new extension, we had, four larger therapy rooms which were well lit with adequate waiting space where children could play outside during the therapy times. And as Dr. KS had shown you pictures of, the LCVW which was built then, the last picture was actually the Nambikkai Nilayam block, which was built in 1978. So that's also the old heritage building of 24 beds, which definitely need to be probably renovated. Thank you. So just to briefly tell you, this is our new integrated service, which came in 2005 in the A block, which is the A7 Integrated Pediatric CL Services. And you can see that our team there is also working with the adolescent medicine team, work with children with eating disorders. And this was also envisaged at the time because there was a lot of problem with children and adolescents actually accessing mental health center because of the stigma, refusing to come there for therapies and to be more accessible to the main hospital. So I think the services have been doing good work from when they started. So this is our current team. It's coming to current. It's currently headed by Dr. Satyaraj, a dynamic HOU currently, who's well sought out for her talks and her conferences and her talks at CMEs and conferences. And this is our team. As many people were mentioning, psychiatry cannot function without the multidisciplinary team. And I think the team is one of the most important strengths we have in Nambikkai Nilayam, along with the family-based interventions we do. So this is our team. We have our psychiatric nurses, team of psychiatric faculty. These are all our first and second calls. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, first and second calls, our clinical psychologists, our office staff, who are the spine of our program there. These are our new postdoctoral fellows. And this is our high-powered team from the therapists in Nambikkai Nilayam and CAP. So our OTs, our special educators, our speech therapists, our psychologists, and this is our new team at the A7 ward. So with a lot of difficulty, we managed to get most of our team together for a photograph yesterday. They come now from different services. So this was everyone in our yesterday's photograph. So before I finish, I just like to briefly, acknowledge, so many faculty we've had who've stayed with the unit from the initial years. You've just heard from Dr. Simpson. He joined in 1978 and he stayed till his retirement in 2010. So just to acknowledge Ms. Bhagyavati, she joined in 84, Ms. Jyoti, who joined in 84, Ms. Sushila Russell, who joined Nambikkai Nilayam in 88. They all retired from service after years of dedicated service in the unit. And of course, we have Sister Meera, Dr. Alice, Sister Devakumari, Sister Vimala, and Ms. Mumtaz. We'd like to especially acknowledge all the people who've contributed to the growth of child psychiatry, and especially acknowledge the people who've stayed from the beginning to its very end. Thank you.
After those inspiring lectures about the Department of Psychiatry, it's my turn now to represent Mental Health Center to talk about our today and our hopes for tomorrow. So I will be brief. This is the statistics for the last 10 years. You can see that there's been a steady increase in the total outpatient numbers over the years. There was a dip in the during the COVID period, but we are back on track, increasing our outpatient services to almost pre-COVID levels. We continue to have 6 outpatient clinics per week. We do new registrations for every person who walk in during the 8 to 11 time. And till recently, review patients were being seen in the afternoons. Over the last 1.5 decades, we have started seeing our review patients in the morning. And then this has helped a lot of our patients who tend to come from far off remote places where transportation facilities are affected. In the acute care services of our outpatient services, in addition to the inpatient, outpatient, our acute care services, we have now 2 dedicated acute care beds in the OP region, which are manned by nurses from morning during the OP hours. These are basically for patients who are behaviorally disturbed or medically unwell, who requires short-term observation and whose family would not prefer them to be admitted into a hospital. We also have a triage nurse who mans the OPD areas to look for early identification of people with medical illnesses or who are behaviorally disturbed. Our future plans for outpatient services include specialty clinics, wherein we are thinking in terms of adults with intellectual disability and adults with pervasive developmental disorder. All of you would know that clozapine is one of the most best treatments or the medications that we have for people with treatment-resistant schizophrenia. But starting clozapine is a big problem because of the side effects that we are worried about. So we are hoping to start clozapine clinics which will be a multidisciplinary team which will monitor people who are on clozapine. We are in the process of slowly thinking in terms of making our medical records electronic, ensuring that there are appropriate safety measures to ensure the privacy of our patient data. These are the statistics of inpatients numbers for the last 10 years. Again, here also you would see that there's a dip during the COVID pandemic, but we are gradually back into our regular number of IP beds. This is despite the fact that you could see that there's a dip in the last 2 years, but this is basically because, as everybody mentioned, the wards are slowly aging, and we have to take turns in taking at least 5 to 10 beds at a time to ensure that we are renovating it. And that's the reason for the dip that you're seeing in the last 1 or 2 years. We have tried to reduce our waiting list by about 1 to 2 beds. Earlier last year, following the request by the district administration as well as the government of Tamil Nadu, we have earmarked about 3 to 4 beds for exclusively managing de-addiction or patients with substance use. Most of you would be aware that we inaugurated the medium cost private ward that is on 10th of October by the Union Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Once that is commissioned, it will increase our bed strength by about 42. This new ward has all the safety facilities available, state-of-art safety facilities, and it also has differently abled friendly rooms. Future plans is once a new ward is commissioned, our intensive care beds. Now we have 12 beds in acute care ward, 2 beds in Nambikkai Nilayam, and another 4 more will come in terms of in MCW, medium cost private ward. And the renovation of LCBW annex and private wards are slowly being planned, and hopefully we'll be able to do that over the next few years. As been mentioned previously, psychotherapy is one of the most common things or one basic things that we do in MHC, and that's what makes us unique from any other center, even across the world. And psychotherapy numbers, these are all the psychotherapy numbers that you could see is for outpatients that we make them register for outpatient services. The inpatient services, that's a different statistics that I haven't added into it. And you can see over the last 10 years, it's more or less doubled, ensuring that our focus on psychotherapy still remains. Psychology service, the training of postgraduate students in psychotherapy is continuing. The number of clinical psychologists from 1 to 2 has now reached about 7 to 8. Psychology numbers are also slowly increasing. Faculty have been trained in cognitive behavior therapy as well as brief therapies. And in future plans, currently we are doing bail-in groups. These are a group for junior doctors to get supported during the psychotherapy services. And we are hoping once this pilot project is over, we are hoping to kind of generalize it across to the whole of institution so that they can also feel supported whenever they are having any patient communicated issues or psychological issues. We are hoping to slowly think in terms of a separate clinical psychology department with the aim of hoping to start a MA in clinical psychology program as recognized by the RCI. These are the future plans of the child and adolescent psychiatry. They're hoping to slowly convert the PDF program into a DM program in child psychiatry. And as per the regulatory norms, a separate or a dedicated child and adolescent inpatient facility is required. And that is something in the cards for the future. They're planning to strengthen the telepsychiatry services to reach peripheral centers in schools and also the mission hospitals through the Second Opinion Connect and improve the interdepartmental consultation services. For the vocational skills training for neurodevelopmental disordered children, they're thinking in terms of adding on a transition program in addition to the 3-month program, and in partnership with local industry as well as NGOs, vocational training is something that is being planned. Community psychiatry, currently what we are doing is peripheral clinics with the support of College of Nursing Community Health, and we are also providing support to several NGOs and rehabilitation homes from Ranipet to Tirupattur to Vellore to Tiruvannamalai. Our future plan is to liaise with CHAT in terms of both in Kaniambadi block as well as Javadi to try and think in terms of early identification and intervention for both psychiatric illnesses as well as child and adolescent services. One of the largest number of consultation license services is provided by MHC, probably all over the world, I would say. So you can see that the number of CL OP registrations over the years have been progressively increasing. It's about 12,000 patients in a year. This is just the outpatients. And if you look at the IP referrals, last year we saw about 5,500 consultations across CMC. So we are providing CL services in Ranipet Town Campus, CHAD, Rehab Institute, and LCCU. And in some of these areas, we are providing both OP as well as IP. We are also supporting specialist clinics in the bariatric clinic, tobacco cessation clinic, perinatal and infant nurture clinic. Our future plans would include providing support to brain injury clinic, andrology clinic, and in the long term, with the large amount of work that we're doing, probably a consultation license service or a unit separately, and also probably postdoctoral fellowship as well as DM courses in consultation license psychiatry. Addiction psychiatry, we probably have the only qualified faculty in probably South Asia who's got a DM in addiction psychiatry. Currently, our focus is on training healthcare workers. We do for primary care doctors, social workers. We're also part of the community programs in Rusa and Javadi. And future plan would be, again, think in terms of an addiction clinic at MHC and probably fellowship course or even certificate course or a DM in addiction psychiatry at MHC. Probably dual diagnosis clinic, adolescent addiction clinic, and rolling out OST services would be something that we could think in terms of in future. ECT, we have published a lot and we've done a lot of research on electroconvulsive therapy services. After the COVID pandemic, we are slowly getting back to our pre-COVID numbers. A lot of our faculty has shown interest in RTMS and TDS. Some of them have even gone ahead and trained for these things. We are hoping to, neurology has recently acquired an RTMS machine. We are probably planning to collaborate with them and later on think of procuring a machine for ourselves. So this is about psychiatric nursing. The photo is about the current psychiatric nursing staff. Their aim is to see that anybody who works in MHC or in the psychiatric services should have a specialist psychiatric degree or at least training in it. They're hoping to do this by continuing professional development and advanced training program, including trying to get all of them to do the DPN program. There is a nurse-led certificate program in the cards where they're looking at aggression management. They're hoping to make this as a WHO collaborating center and thinking in terms of signing MOUs with different universities to think in terms of faculty and staff exchange programs, and also bringing in the concept of a psychiatric nurse practitioner, which is common in the West, but thinking in terms of a training program for that, and also look at engaging with the community health department to look at community outreach programs. Occupational therapy, we were one of the 3 places which started occupational therapy right at the inception. And you can see that outpatient therapy, which was initially only for inpatients, we have, over the last few years, we have moved it for outpatient also. And the number of OP outpatient referrals have increased almost tenfold in the last 10 years. In line with the increasing number, there's been an increase in the number of staff that's also there. You can see that the second floor of that OT building is slowly coming up. That's the infrastructural improvement. And they've also started an MOT program 2 years ago. So the future plans for them would be diagnosis-specific group services, standardized protocols for major mental illness in adults with neurodevelopmental disorders. That is an area which there is a lot of lacunae. Improving the vocational rehabilitation and life skills, probably starting with transitional stays outside the hospital and then integrating them in vocational skills. Specialty outpatient occupational therapy clinics in terms of people with cognitive deficits. Predominantly, they are trying to look at people with major mental illness and cognitive deficits, and also those with social skills and motivational deficits. Once the community psychiatry project takes on, they will plan to integrate OT also into that, and also in the development of culturally inclusive instruments. As mentioned earlier, research has been a major focus at MHC. We continue to run the PhD program. There are 3 candidates who are doing PhD at various stages currently. A few years ago, we started a research lab for psychology. Current areas of focus that we are looking in research are pharmacokinetic data of psychotropic medications, the Indian data. We're also trying to look at pharmacogenomic studies of clozapine, as well as genetics of substance use, especially substance-induced psychotic disorder. Our focus for about qualitative studies are continuing. Now, as we look back at the remarkable heritage of our department, we are reminded that we stand on the shoulders of those who have built it, nurtured it, and advanced its growth. The enduring pillars of our Department of Psychiatry, which is family participation in patient care, a strong emphasis on psychotherapy, occupational therapy for functional improvement, and a multidisciplinary collaboration. This will continue to guide us in whatever we envision for the future. The story of our department is one of consistent effort, collaboration, and excellence. And with the same spirit, we continue to work towards future. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. I'm very happy and proud to have sat through this. With that, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Apologies for overshooting the time quite a bit. And God bless.